Welcome back to Decoy Court, where we're covering more r/am I the a-hole, with today's featured post being, am I the antagonist for holding my stepsister's mother's ashes until she returns my dog to me? So OP writes, throw away because this whole drama is stupid, and I am ashamed of it. I, a 20-year-old female, was temporarily living with my mother, stepfather, and stepsister, 14. Me and stepsister were never close. She hates me and my mother, thinking that my mother stole her father away after her own mother passed. It has been that way for 4 years already, and while she is in slightly better terms with my mother, she still constantly tries to disturb me because I am not as tolerant as my mother. As for my stepfather, he is quite okay, but he would pretend to ignore me in front of my stepsister, sometimes because she would throw a fuss about it. I was supposed to move to a rather far place to work and study. My father arranged for me to move in after renovations are done, bringing my dog with me. When I first brought my dog to my mother's as a few months ago, my stepsister seemingly fell in love with him. At first it was just me taking care of him, then we took turns taking him out. For a while I even thought we could have gotten along better because we both loved the dog. And one day, my sister returned without my dog and announced that she had given him away, just to spite me. She got what she wanted, and no matter how nicely or nastily I asked her, she wouldn't tell me where she took him. I complained about it to my mother and stepfather, but they couldn't get her to talk either. She has this attitude of, try me, whenever she gets stubborn. I was to move in 2 days, and I guess she wanted to keep my dog for herself or make me miss my cross-country train. I know it's despicable, but I was worried for my pup, and whatever she could have done with him. I sneaked into her room while she was not looking and took her mother's ash urn. I know this was precious to her, precious enough to be used to make her talk. I hid the urn somewhere she would never find. Sure enough, my stepsister lost it completely when she realized what I did, and similarly, I'd never talk no matter what my mother or stepfather say. After all those screaming and crying, she finally gave in and admitted that she brought him to her friends. After taking the trip and passing my dog back to me, she demanded to have the urn back, but I did not tell her until the day of my departure, in case she wanted to pull some sick prank again. Everybody I know of, including my own father, thinks I took it too far. While in the end nothing really bad happened, I did it in the worst way possible, quoted by my mother, who did nothing to help either. It was my stepsister who started it. She knew how important my pup was to me, and she tried to take him away from me. So I used a similar way to make her return him, and it worked. I didn't do it out of spite, just making use of what I could get my dog back. So in this case, am I the antagonist? So taking the case and rushing it over to Decoy Court, I would go ahead and say with this situation, it sounds like they're both relatively young, and this is an atrocious failure on the half of the parents. How come the parents are just not saying, the dog is missing, just give the dog to your sister, and they said, okay, yeah, the sister is like, you know what, try me, you can't make me do anything I don't want to do, and the other parents are just like, you know what, whatever. We can't control the kid, let her do whatever she wants, and then OP puts it in her hands. Now, is this correct for her to be doing this, to be taking the dog, hiding, or not taking the dog? Stepsister takes her dog, she takes her mother and hides her and does who knows what. There's crying and screaming and there's lots of fights and they're all getting mad at each other, and then OP gets away. This is cementing the wrong lesson for both the kids. One kid says, oh yeah, you can take away the dog. If you want the puppy, just stash it somewhere, then you can have it later on. Mission accomplished. Parents aren't going to do anything about it. Now you're teaching OP, hey look, if you can't get your way, just steal somebody's mom. Go hide the ashes somewhere and you can get exactly what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and say that in this type of instance, I'm not judging OP or the stepsister, I'm just judging the parents, and both of you guys suck there. Both of you guys are the antagonists because you're doing nothing to help them. Now I'm going to go ahead and say that, you know, this is not the Decoy Court is just something that is serious. The decoy defense, what would be the inverse of this? How could we make them come out to be the okay person? And it's one of those situations where it wasn't, you know, her mother's ashes or her mother's just remains. It was actually something, I guess that would be very, it's going to be very sentimental to the stepsister, but she took like the only thing she had ever, like the whole there was no images, there was no like letters or something. It was something very untimely and something very much more, I'm trying to paint her in this different light right now, but I can't because it's already pretty extreme as it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that, you know, in the event that, no, I can't. I'm really trying to. I'm striking a blank right now on the decoy defense. So, you know, every now and then I can't get at a good decoy defense. I just say that right now, Decoy's going to take a brief recess, and I'm going to ask that you guys in the comment section give me the Decoy defense right now, because apparently they locked this post because it's too extreme over there. So let's take that short break right now. If you enjoy what I'm doing, please make sure you subscribe down below and turn on those notifications so you can join that Decoy koi pond in the comment section. But as always, give me your thoughts as to, in story 1, who's the antagonist, and what would be a good way to do the Decoy defense. But let's go ahead and get to that top comment, which is oftentimes the prosecution. The top comment is, not the antagonist. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. She did this to herself, and shame on her for bringing an innocent animal into a personal feud. The reason others don't get it is because they don't have a bond with the dog as you do. They just see it as another dog. Okay, so they got lots of upvotes on that. The next top comment, not the antagonist, but dang, your parents need to step it up. She is a problem. And the next reply to that was, to be honest, I wish OP called the police on all of them for a robbery and kidnapping. For the dog, I don't know, who knows what they would have done about that, but it is true. The parents are just not acknowledging this when they should. And the next top comment is, not the antagonist. Congrats on you for finding a creative solution. However, this does mean probably never letting anyone in your extended family into your home for more than a minute, as a precedent for ransoming has now been established. Watch your back. Still worth it though. And which is what I was thinking, is just the whole idea that ransoming is now their bargaining chip. This is how they take care of stuff. You can't just like have a family feud of like, I want you to give me the money back that I lent you in high school or something like that. It's like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to steal your mom now. Like that's become the industry standard in that family. But that's what the prosecution says. Let's go ahead and shoot over to that controversial defense section. So the next section was, okay, wait a second. People are really saying not the antagonist? Everyone sucks here. You both made terrible decisions. While yours may have been justified, that doesn't mean you didn't do something wrong. Edit. Apparently I missed the judgment of justified antagonist means not the antagonist, so not the antagonist. Edit number 2. LOL. This person sent me a message. Yeah, so you wouldn't mind if I took your kids and families for a few days, right? And before you say, it's not the same thing, some people say a dog may be their only family, which, I mean, I guess this is kind of getting a little bit too abstract. The next top controversial comment is, wow, everyone sucks here. You stole a child's mother's corpse. Everyone sucks too, but you're not exempt. And that's what I think, everybody kind of sucks, but it's like the parents should be in here to help moderate their problems. But the final controversial comment that got negative 45 points is, everyone sucks here. Yes, she's a little brat and bang out of order, but she's being 14, behaving like a spiteful 14-year-old, and you're behaving like a 14-year-old at the age of 20, being the adult in the scenario. You are using a person's grief and a dead mother's ashes as a bargaining chip. If it was belonging like a phone or a laptop, I judge differently, but I think this is beyond the pale. Wanted to retract the description of OP as spiteful. She was just mirroring using the same word. But after some thinking, I reckon while I stand by finding the action cruel, I don't think it was done with malice. Okay, so that was a very confusing comment right there. I don't really understand. But the idea is they're trying to say you're stooping to her level to get your message across. It's like I kind of don't see it as like, you're necessarily stooping to anyone's level to get the job done. She stole your dog, your family. So you kind of stole her belongings, her mother's ashes. Yes, it sounds extreme, but it got the job done when nobody else would step in there to take care of it for her. So I'm a little bit less inclined to say like, oh, you're the bad person over here, because, I mean, your animal is your family and you really want to get it back. I'm not condoning it, but I'm saying that I somewhat understand it. So in the words of Decoy Court, I'm still staying with everyone sucks here because someone needs to step in, especially those parents. But let's go ahead and get to the second story of the day, which is, am I the antagonist for throwing away food my ex-wife made in front of her? OP writes, we have been divorced for some time and have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. As long as we don't interface too much, we generally get along. This past year, she's some guy that she is really into. What? That doesn't... So, he's big on fitness and health, so she's getting into it too. One of the biggest changes she's made is with her eating. She does this very BS trendy low-carb, high-protein diet. She's now pushing it on her kids. They will eat what is offered. We had a blow up a couple weeks ago where she said they needed to start eating more healthy, i.e. how she and her boyfriend are eating. I pointed out that she's doing a fad diet to impress some guy, which is her deal, and she should do what she wants, but I'm going to do what I want with my kids when they're with me. She went on and on about how I feed my kids junk food and what I feed them is not any worse than what she feeds them. Eating a Subway sandwich is probably healthier than the stuff they eat at her place when you take into consideration sodium and calories. I ended up hanging up on her. Earlier this week, she dropped them off at my house. We switched weeks. And my eldest handed me a bag of Tupperwares filled with food that says, that's for mom. She said it's for dinner. I opened it up and it was some nasty shrimp salad. I took the bag outside and I told her I don't need her making me dinner. She said it wasn't for me, it was for the boys. I just smiled and dumped the bag into a trash can and told her to leave. I ended up making some soft tacos for dinner that night. She's been texting me for the last 2 days over it and I haven't responded. So is this person the antagonist? Taking it over to Decoy Court very briefly, I would say with this situation, it's like, the split homes, being in one house, another house is a tough thing because they both want to be parenting on a general consensus, but they're oftentimes going to be spiteful towards each other, which is going to make them use the kids as kind of a bargaining chip. Like, I'm going to spite you, make you mad about the diet they're eating just to get back at the ex. Especially when the ex is now with some new guy that OP doesn't seem too thrilled about. And the idea is the fad diets, there's a lot of judgment going on over here. So, not to say that he's not entitled to give his kids what they want to eat. He's not entitled to be mad at the fact that his ex has moved on with some other guy that he doesn't really like and they're doing some weird fad diet that he's just not a big fan of. It's just, we're only going to be judging the idea of, should he be throwing away some food in front of her face? Like, was he meaner when he could have been nicer? And I would go ahead and say that, yeah, maybe he is. Like, if he's just trying to keep the peace in his life and his family and not really, cause drama in front of the kids, he wouldn't just be like running outside, opening the door and like, oh yeah, the food you gave me, I'm throwing it away. See, this is all like dramatic and being over the top when he doesn't need to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and say with this whole scenario, because it is a weird thing that the ex-girlfriend or ex-wife is trying to do the parenting of the kid when it's OP's time, and it is kind of messed up that OP has to do all the extra stuff. He could have just thrown the food away. He could have just told the kids, like, would you like to have soft tacos tonight, or do you want to have shrimp salad? It's up to you. I want you guys to be happy. So I'm saying that everyone kind of sucks here because this is a situation of, like, just a difference of opinions, but they're starting to get the kids involved. So taking it over to Decoy defense, like, what would be the inverse of that? I think everybody kind of sucks in this situation, but maybe there was a situation where maybe the kids were having trouble, like maybe they're managing their weight for something particular, or maybe they're trying to do something in sports and they're just not feeling like they're okay with whatever food that OP's feeding them. Like, they're saying, oh, we go to dad's house, we get Subway sandwiches, we get, like, steaks and burgers, we get, fast food every single day. And she's like, you know what, maybe they want some home cooked meals. Maybe OP's discounting the fact that they wanted the shrimp salad. Maybe that he's discounting the idea that they like the way that food makes them feel, because oftentimes when you eat, like, really light and healthy stuff and home cooked foods, you just kind of feel a little bit better than when you would just be saying, let me pig out on a movie theater hot dog and some popcorn, which I'm very much missing right now. That's what I'm thinking about right now because all the theaters are closed. But getting back to this story right now, which is the idea that maybe the kids really like the shrimp salad, he's dismissing their needs and saying, no. When you're in my house, we eat Subway, we eat Taco Bell, and we take naps right after. Like, what if that was a situation? So the Decoy defense is just about nonsense. It's just about making something up to think about both sides of the argument. But in reality, I'm still going to say that everyone sucks here. Like, why not we just say, hey kids, what would you like to have for dinner tonight? We have some home-cooked shrimp tacos or shrimp salad, or you can have soft tacos. They're cooked. We're not trying to make a statement on parenting. We're trying to make a statement on fad dieting. It's just like, hey, what do you guys want? Let's pop a movie on, play some video games, enjoy some quality time with family, not try to use that time to make a statement and also cause friction between the two families. So that's my thoughts. Again, with story number 2, go ahead and give me your thoughts down below, but let's go ahead and shoot over to the top comments to see what they're saying over there. They say, everyone sucks here. You are both acting childish and petty. If you didn't want her food, fine. But you're the antagonist for making a deal of it by dumping it out in front of the kids. You are antagonizing their mother in front of them, which you shouldn't do. She is overstepping a boundary by preparing the meals to eat at your house. Unless you asked, she shouldn't have done that, especially knowing your stance on the diet, which is good. That's the same knee-jerk reaction I had, so it seems that the top comments are consistent with that. And the next top comment is, your ex is pushing boundaries here. But you need to be careful about despising your ex more than you love your kids. Don't talk about it or do that in front of your kids. And I agree with that. It's about, don't despise your ex more than you love your kids. Don't take away from them. What if they wanted that shrimp salad? Maybe they actually like fish and OP just doesn't understand that yet. So the next top comment is, everyone sucks here. My issue with you is that you could have given her the chance to take the food back after she clarified the food was for the boys. You are right. You didn't have to take the food, but you shouldn't have wasted the food and dishes by throwing it away. My issue with her is that the kids are with you, they're under your care. She shouldn't try to dictate what you serve them. Also, more information is needed. Did she consult a pediatrician before putting the kids on a fad diet? There's an issue here as well. And that is very true. Like, there's a whole situation where there's a carnivore diet, there is the keto diet, and we don't know the long-term effects of these things when you just go strictly on red meat or protein or have no carbohydrates, whatever that is. It has lots of effects. I went on the keto diet for some time and I lost a lot of weight, but I also felt like differently. I felt lighter and I felt more, brain fog had gone away. I'm not here advocating the keto diet, but it's a situation that you just don't know what it has long-term, especially on kids that are just developing. Like, is it carbohydrates something they need to be able to develop properly? We don't know that. And it's like a weird thing to say, like, oh, we're into this new, not Manhattan Beach, Miami Beach diet. We're in this low carb thing. We're in this new thing where we only eat red meat. It's like, well, that really hasn't been studied long-term effects, and it'd be a shame to say, hey, the OP's ex-wife met a new man and then expose them to something new that, is just kind of what's trending on Facebook right now, which I don't think is fair. But let's go ahead and see what the controversial section is saying, which is not the antagonist. She needs to learn boundaries. I would have done the same thing, and I don't blame you for not responding to her text about it. It'll only give you a headache if you do, which is true, but like they said in the other comments where it's like, don't hate your ex more than you love your kids type of thing. And the next comment was, not the antagonist. Your time with the kids, and you can decide what you do and how they eat. She does not get to dictate how your time with your children goes, but you could have offered the food back to her. If she refused to take it, then go ahead and dump it, but you didn't have to trash it first. And I do understand that. That was a very spiteful thing. That was a very dramatic thing. You did it for effect. It was like, hey, I tried to nicely tell her, stop trying to dictate what the kids eat when they're in my house. This is my weekend. I'm raising them right now. It was a thing where it's like, okay, cool. Let me show you a lesson right now, and I'm gonna throw the food away, make eye contact with you, and say, don't do that again. It's just unnecessary. It's a situation that now you're putting undue stress on the kids when they're just happy to see their father. I don't like any of that. So I mean, Decoy Court's final judgment is still everyone sucks here. Nobody in the controversial, nobody in the top comments could help change my mind, and hopefully you guys feel somewhat the same. So let's go ahead and go to that third and final story today, which is, am I the antagonist for telling my sister that she deserved to get a divorce? OP writes, I, a 15-year-old male, live with my parents in a cramped apartment. They try their best to keep us afloat, and it's not a bad apartment, so I can't be mad about it. However, things got pretty bad when my 31-year-old female sister moved in after her divorce. We've never gotten along well because of the age gap, but ever since the divorce, things are even worse. She goes out at parties all night, and then comes back home and sleeps all day. She practically makes our mother do everything, including caring for her. My mom has to do all my sister's laundry, all of her dishes, and drive her to and fro places. My mom is a very sweet, quiet, soft-spoken person who gets frazzled very easily, and if she does something wrong, my sister will go off on her and make her cry. When my dad comes home from work, my sister will come out of her hiding hole and demand that he do stuff like go get her Starbucks or some new clothing accessory at the mall. Dumb crap like that always gets done because my parents will do anything for us, which is fine up until it reaches that limit. My sister doesn't work. She just mooches money off of everybody, including me. I've tried to get my parents to stop it, but they say there's little that they can do because she's an adult and they want her to be happy. They do give me money in return, but that's not the point I'm trying to make, and have just stopped bringing it up because we're not in a good financial situation for that. When my sister moved in, my parents wanted her to have privacy, so they asked for me to sleep on the couch. Okay, fine. I started sleeping on the couch, but then my sister started complaining about the freaking decorations that were in there and made my parents and I move everything so she could make the room into her home. My sister has also started smoking in the apartment unit, even though that's against the rules and could get us kicked out, pouring water on the cat like a freaking psychopath and bullying me about the most innocuous crap. I finally lost it yesterday and yelled at my sister that she deserved to get a divorce and that I don't blame her husband for treading wood, although he should have done it a long time ago. They'd been married for a year. My sister, predictably, pitched a fit, and my parents blame me, even though she's been the one terrorizing us for the past month. Am I the antagonist? Because these freaks certainly think I am. So taking the case and rushing it over to Decoy Court. Honestly, in this scenario, I don't often like to point out, hey, this story is fake. This is like, something made up, because I oftentimes make up stories, put them on Am I the Antagonist and see what people do. And I phrase them in very particular ways. And one thing, I'm not a writer by any means, but I feel like I'm successful on getting things on Reddit, getting people to feel compelled to think one way or another. I think that, writing from perspective is an important thing. And if he's saying that he's like a teenage kid, but then he wrote it like this, like everything's so eloquently put, everything's so segmented off, and this illustrates her. This is her path. This is her origin story. This is what she's doing. This is how she got worse. This was my breaking point. This is my family turning on me. this is way too this is way too clean for some kid to be writing it. Maybe this is a genius. Maybe this is a person that is just very good at expressing themselves, but just not in person. They're not good at expressing themselves to their parents or to their sister. She's just good at expressing it on Am I the Antagonist? I don't buy it. But just taking the story and saying, hey, if this was real in Am I the Antagonist, are they the antagonist? No, it's a situation where everybody's bending over backwards for the sister and just letting her walk all over them, and he's the only one that wants to stand up for himself, his family, his room, his living space, and his cat. Yes, of course he's not going to be the antagonist, and of course the sister is going to be the antagonist. But let's say, the decoy court, what would be on the decoy defense? What would be the inverse of that? How would the sister be the good guy and OP is the bad guy? Is the situation where she's going through a very, very serious bout of depression. Like he said something about the ex-husband treading wood. Maybe that's a euphemism for something where it's not like a situation where he said, oh yeah, he should have done it a long time ago. They've been married for a year, as of like he should have left. What if treading wood was him just dying in a very horrendous lumber mill accident where she was like, you know what, he should have just been gone a long time ago. And then now it's like, oh my God, like, yo, she was probably an angel and really sweet and nice, and then when her husband died in the most horrific way, where she was present for it, she was driving up in their nice old, their relation, what is it, their wedding present car, drives up to the place, and he's waving at her, say, hey honey, I'm ready, getting ready to leave work, and then falls down the wood chipper and just happens in the most horrendous way where, I'm not going to go graphically, but it's like it was a bad thing. Now she's, once she's reverting back to her high school self, wants her whole high school home, wants to smoke cigarettes in secret inside her room and, demand dad to come home and get her coffee and then to buy something at the mall. And she's melting down at the most base level. And OP is like, you know what? I wish your husband, bit the bullet a long time ago or something like that. Like, it's hard to say what the situation would be, but that would definitely make OP the antagonist. But we live in the world of the decoy court, not the decoy defense. And I'm going to go and say, as eloquently as this was written, I'm still saying that OP, you're not the antagonist. The sister, she definitely is the antagonist. There's no way around it. To be treating your parents badly, possibly getting them evicted from their house, and also throwing water on the cat, maybe because I have a cat and I know how much he hates water. That's a pretty mean thing to do. So also, take a short break. Let's see what you guys have to say about story number 3, the final story, and go ahead and go to that prosecution of the top comments, which is, the top comment is, not the antagonist. Sure, your reaction was harsh, but pouring water on the cat is abusive, especially if it doesn't like water. She sounds like a nightmare, which is true. Next comment, not the antagonist. She's abusive to all of you, including your cat. She will never get better while your parents continue to enable her. And that's funny that's the thing. In this long, drawn-out story about lots of different things, the only thing that myself and most of the top comments were just hinging on were, hey, why are you messing with the cat? Like, leave the cat alone. They're innocent. Not the fact that OP's parents are innocent. OP's parents are getting walked all over, and also OP themselves is like having to sleep on their couch when they're just trying to be nice to their sister. No, we all just wanted to go to bat for the cat. That's all we care about. And the top controversial comment was, this teenager writes like a teenager, which I don't think that it just doesn't seem genuine to me. But then another comment that was deleted by the user. So the next controversial comment is, please tell your parents to read this. I can't believe they made you give up your room, a growing, maturing, educating teenager, so that some worthless waste of space adult can feel comfortable, and this worthless waste of space doesn't even contribute to the house in any way, shape, or form. Your sister sucks, but for your parents suck even more for enabling the behavior. Start saving your money now and move out at 18 and never look back. Let them all stay holed up in a 2-bedroom apartment, enabling a 30-year-old woman child who refuses to contribute in any way, shape, or form to the continued success of family. I feel sorry for you, dude. Hang in there. Stay in school and make something of yourself, because you have now seen firsthand of what happens when you don't. So this person is very upset at everything in the situation. They're also saying, like, oh yeah, make sure your parents see this. Oh, you guys are worthless. She's a waste of space. Like, well, who was going to do that? Who was going to say, hey, mom and dad, this online stranger says you're a waste of space, and sis is a waste of space too, so this is a good use of your time. Like, no, this person right here has no idea what they're talking about. With, like, they read a small paragraph from one person's perspective that's supposed to illustrate everybody else in the worst possible way and paint themselves in the best possible light, showing no other contributing factors, and now this person's willing to say, hey, look, I know who you are. You're a waste of space, and also, OP, you're destined for stardom. go to college, move out, never talk to your parents again. Like, whoa, this is such a bizarre thing for them to pull all of that from some story from one perspective, from one side. I oftentimes wonder what else these people are thinking. I don't want to look at their username again. I don't want to click it and see what else they're doing, but I think that that's a little bit scary that somebody can see something very small and out of context and just have this huge condemnation of somebody they have nothing about. So, you know, that's it for me today. Like I always say, if you like what I'm doing over here with the DecoyNoise channel, you like the fact that I'm still doing Am I the Antagonist, 3 videos in there, make sure you subscribe. Join that Decoy koi pond by pushing the notifications on. But if nothing else, just go ahead and like the video and possibly share it with somebody you think might enjoy it. But just go ahead and check out these videos or playlists, and hope to see you next time.